a New York State staffer for the RFK Jr. campaign, was caught on video appearing to say that the RFK Jr. campaign really was a front to trying to hurt Joe Biden and to help Donald Trump get elected. And ensuing drama happened with Democrats saying, see, we told you so about RFK Jr., and then RFK Jr.'s own campaign then disavowing her. But here's what she initially had to say.
So there's no Biden voters in the House, right? No. Okay, good. Things, I guess, will change over time because you do have to only pick one candidate at the end of the day. But the Kennedy voter and the Trump voter, the enemy, our mutual enemy is Biden. Since Biden is counting on us with Bobby in the mix, my thought is for the Republicans. See, Bobby right now, he's pulling from both sides. Right now, he's actually pulling a little bit more from Biden, which explains why the DNC is kind of ganging up on him. Most of the Northeast is going to go blue. Why wouldn't we put our vote to Bobby and at least get rid of Biden and get those 28 electoral votes in New York? The card's a little wrong. It says 26 electoral votes. Give those 28 electoral votes to Bobby rather than to Biden. Who are they going to pick if it's a Republican Congress? They'll pick Trump. So we're rid of Biden either way. Does everybody follow that? Okay,
so this got a lot of attention because it was immediately picked up and it was clipped and it was put out there by Democrats. They're like, this is evidence, 100% that the entire RFK Jr. campaign is a plant to try and to elect Donald Trump. He's a spoiler. That's what everybody had to say. But you and I were discussing this afterwards before we even get to the polling, and I was like, it just seems like RFK Jr. has a lot of hanger-oners onto his campaign. I mean, it's not exactly the most well-oiled machine, at least from what we've been able to see so far. And it is clear, I mean, it's true too, from some of his donors, some people who support him are trying to do it as a supporter, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that is what he is trying to do. And in fact, there's not actually a lot of evidence to support that. So what do you think, Krystal?
So first of all, the comments are very unfortunate for the RFK people because
they're not good.
She's so clear. When you listen to it, she's like, all right, none of us are Biden supporters. She even suggests that if you want to help Trump, go volunteer and canvass in Pennsylvania. But if you're in New York, Trump can't win in New York. So the way to help Trump is to vote for RFK Jr. This lady had a PowerPoint made up. She had literature she was distributing. She's been posting the same stuff on her social media too, by the way. And it's not like this is an inconsequential person. She's the director for the RFK Jr. campaign in the state of New York. She's apparently been brought on in particular to try to obtain ballot access in the state of New York. So she's busy trying to collect signatures to get him on the ballot. So that's what she's, in addition to this little spiel that she was giving, she even sent out a hashtag that was like #block Biden. I mean, it's just as overt as you could possibly be. So it's a problem for the RFK Jr. people because, of course, the Democrats are going to seize on this. They've been trying to make the case that RFK Jr. is just a spoiler, trying to get Trump elected. That's really what he's in the game. That's what it's all about. And so, I can't blame them for seizing on this and saying, see, look, I told you so. Here she is out, saying the quiet part out loud in the open. And then they can point to whatever previous Trump donors who are now giving to RFK Jr. and say, case closed. This guy really is just a Trojan horse to try to get Trump reelected. Now, the reason why I don't actually think that that is the case, I think she's, as I said last time we discussed this issue, I don't doubt that there are people affiliated with RFK Jr., donors potentially backing RFK Jr., who have that logic in mind. But I don't actually think that that's what he personally is up to. Because if you were running to try to take votes away from Joe Biden, you would position yourself a lot differently than how he is. Most of the issues he's led with code as right-wing. That's why he has a much higher approval rating with Republicans than he does for Democrats. When I look through his Twitter timeline, more of his criticism was lobbed against Joe Biden. Now, you might think, see, that proves that he really is against Joe Biden. But actually, if you're trying to win over Joe Biden voters, you'd be a little more friendly towards Joe Biden. You would position yourself more in the anti-Trump lane. That would be the way to get more, anti-Trump people who are disaffected with Joe Biden into your camp. So if the goal is to be a spoiler to try to get Trump elected, I think he's doing a very poor job of that, frankly. I still think it's very likely at the end of the day, and there are multiple polls, by the way, that, that even at this early stage bear this out, in spite of his name being Kennedy, the fact that his approval rating is so much higher for Republicans leads me to believe that at best it's a jump ball. And it is also possible that he, at the end of the day, does take more votes away from Donald Trump. So that's why, even though these comments are very clear and very hard to dispute, I actually do think that this is kind of a one-off, person. I think she was hired as a consultant, freelancing, saying her own thing. Maybe she got approval from the RFK Jr. campaign to advocate for him however she feels fit. I don't doubt that there was that level of coordination and connectivity here, but I'm not convinced that this is the central goal and mission of the RFK Jr. camp, because if it was, I believe they would be positioning themselves in a much different way than they actually are.
That's exactly right. Yeah, he would be attacking Trump and to try and be friendly to Biden. I mean, and let's put this up there on the screen too, just to highlight this. If you take a look at what it looks like for polling whenever you include RFK Jr., it is Trump and Biden who are tied at 38% with third parties that are mentioned. But I should also note that while, yes, Kennedy may be pulling away some votes from Joe Biden, we are still seeing that Biden has a major problem with people like Jill Stein, Not Sure, Cornel West. The third-party challengers go far, far beyond just the RFK Jr. question. And we have seen also some polling where we've seen a reduction from RFK Jr. or voters that pull away from Trump and can actually limit Trump's cap of vote and make it easier for Joe Biden, let's say, if other more left-wing challengers are not there on the ballot. So does it inject some chaos in there? Absolutely. But that does not necessarily prove what a lot of what she is saying. Let's put this up there, too, on the screen, though, as we said. Democrats, and this is a former Pete Buttigieg campaign manager, Liz Smith, Democratic operative. Her job these days is appear to go after RFK Jr. She's saying RFK Jr. is a spoiler for Trump. He was urged to run by Trump allies like Steve Biden. He's being propped up by Trump's largest donor. His campaign now caught on tape saying that their top goal is to stop Joe Biden. RFK Jr.'s campaign had a response to this that we can go and put there up on the screen. Let's go ahead and read. Amaryllis Fox, she says, as an independent movement, our supporters, volunteers, and field organizers come from all sides of the political spectrum. Rita Palma was hired a couple of weeks ago as a ballot access consultant, responsible for scheduling volunteer shifts during our upcoming signature drive in the Empire State. She has no involvement in or access to electoral strategy nationally or in New York. The video circulating was not taken at a campaign event. She was speaking as a private citizen, and her statements in no way reflect the campaign strategy, the sole aim of which is to win the White House with votes from former Trump and Biden supporters alike. We are looking into whether any misrepresentations were made, and our campaign champions freedom of speech for all of our supporters. So it really does kind of hit home exactly what you were saying. This is somebody who was hired for ballot access. Maybe she has a private reason for signing on to the ballot access drive for RFK Jr. But at the end of the day, so what? You got to get people to actually come and vote for you, and that's something that these Democratic operatives and even the Trump people who attack RFK Jr. they never quite seem to get there. That at the end of the day, you should just convince people to vote for you. It's that simple.
Yeah. Well, that is really the most important point is, instead of having this, who's he a spoiler for, et cetera, it's like, all right, well, just, if you're a candidate for president, do better, win, offer an agenda for the American people that actually resonates with them. And you won't have to worry about Bobby Kennedy or Cornel West or Jill Stein or, whoever the libertarian candidate ends up, which might also be RFK Jr. I don't know.
Yeah, possible.
And you'll be fine. You just go out and actually win voters over and you'll be good to go. But yeah, Liz Smith's actually, they've realized at the White House they've got a problem with the third-party vote. And I think they have an even bigger problem with the third-party vote now that Joe Biden is enabling a genocide in the Gaza Strip, because young voters are typically more open to voting third party to begin with. And now he's got a massive issue with young voters who are just absolutely disgusted with him. Now, RFK Jr. is just as aggressive on Israel, if not more, than Joe Biden. But, Cornel West, Jill Stein is very likely to have ballot access in many states as Green Party nominee. They've got their act together in that regard. In fact, out of the three candidates, she's the one with the clearest path to being on the most ballots in most states. So they've affirmatively hired Liz Smith to run their operation of trying to undercut anyone who is running third party and try to, shame and cajole any voter who's considering voting third party, because they realize they do have this issue. And that poll that we put up earlier, It actually was kind of a good poll for Joe Biden. The top line without the third-party candidates had him leading Trump by 3. I believe that's either inside the margin of error or just outside of it, but it was actually the best result for Joe Biden in that poll in quite a while. So it was a good poll for him, but then when you add in all of the third-party candidates, then, Trump then is basically tied with him or has the narrow edge. So it is a big problem for Joe Biden. I'm not sure that RFK Jr. himself is going to be a negative factor for Biden, but there's a lot of jockeying with the Biden campaign and with the Trump campaign to try to persuade voters like, no, he's really a liberal. No, he's really right wing. And I think some of the supporters of RFK Jr. ranging the political spectrum reflects the confusion around what his true political identity may be.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.